Hi, everyone. Welcome to Shot Callers, a Storied Rivals podcast where we sit down with high school football coaches. And today we're in the Muskingum Valley League. And this show is very special to me today because we're with the Meadowbrook Colts. That's where I graduated from in 2018. And we're with head coach Steve Norman. Steve, thanks so much for joining the show. How are you? How's your summer going?
Oh, I'm great. I really appreciate you having us on. Summer is what it is. Football coaches know that summer breaks it's kind of like a figment of everyone's imagination. I'm not sure they're real. I hear people talk about them.
Sure.
But the breaks for us are pretty limited. But it's been good.
So how is construction going kind of at the field with because you're putting in a new turf and everything like that? Have you been, I'm sure do you know when that's going to be finished? Like what's practice been like? Like what's the off season been like kind of trying to work around that?
Yeah, that's that's $1 million question as far as when it'll actually be done. Now they had some few bumps in the road as far as what they found when they got under the old turf. But as the last I've heard, looks like we're on schedule. We'll be on there before our first home scrimmage, which this year our first scrimmage is at Sandy Valley, but then we have Philo on Thursday night at home. So by all accounts, it's ready to go. As far as the construction part, though, that's been crazy. We have like no parking lots. We're parking
Yeah.
on the other side of the middle school. We got to walk, a good ways just to get into the weight room, and then we got to backtrack, and then we have to walk, the walk to get to the practice field. Which now I understand why all the opposing teams, when they come to us and they're in our middle school gym, now I get their complaint about the walk to the field. So we've experienced that every day. So to those opposing coaches who don't necessarily like that walk, trust me, I'm in agreement with you. But no, it's exciting. Obviously you get new upgrades and some new facilities, and the student health center's been started as well. So
Sure.
things are certainly looking up. Much appreciative of all the work that our admin and community have done to make this happen. So it's exciting. So
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the field looks like once we open up week one for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely want to get into kind of your story though, because I mean this is only your third year as the head coach at Meadowbrook, but you've been around the program now for 25 years. So and every team, every program, they go through their ups and downs as time goes by, as the years go by. But you've been through the ups and downs with Meadowbrook. You've been like the remaining constant over the last 25 years. So so I kind of want to know like what keeps you coming back year after year? Like where does that passion come from for football and for this Meadowbrook program?
Well, I have been here for a long time, and I've done, I've coached football at all levels, from the minis to junior high to high school, and I've done all that. But I love the area that I'm from. I am super proud to be, a Colt. Super appreciative of all the people that have, the old saying, it takes a village, to raise a child. And I'm certainly a product of that. But going back, to the part about the football, when I was younger, when my best friend growing up, his dad, so Greg Mateo, his dad, Steve, was the head coach at Shenandoah. And, so as a, elementary school kid there for a couple of years, we would go and watch, some of the Shenandoah football games because he was the coach, and we would be on the sidelines and we would go to their practices and stuff. And it really started there, watching, like, as a 10-year-old kid, and you're in the locker room and you see, these big varsity football players, and it certainly had a tremendous impact on, like, wow, the locker room is probably the single greatest place. I don't want to say, maybe I should, as far as outside of family, right? Because
Sure.
But as far as sports are concerned, the locker room is one of the greatest places. And I had great experience growing up. And then, when he was no longer at Shenandoah, and then it was like, hey, well, I'm going to, I'm at Meadowbrook. My family, or, my friends and their older brothers were playing football at the time. And it was So it's been a love affair with football from the time I was little. But I had, outside of, Coach Motil, when I got to high school, it was Coach Casper, who, just not just a great football coach, but, just a tremendous human being who really, it was more X's and O's. It was more about the person, which, I tried to carry that with me as, as I became a coach. And I tell people, really, if I wasn't coaching football, I think it would be really selfish on my part, because I've had so many good mentors and so many good people to look up to. And, they showed me how to do it. And, I just hope that I'm trying to follow in those footsteps. And again, the wins and losses, like when I saw a few kids there a couple months ago who had played several years ago. And like, we didn't, like, the conversations weren't, hey, we won this many games or this many games. It was about like the memories of the practice or, things that happened, amongst the teammates. And, those things they just stick with you.
Yeah.
And, I just hope I can bring an experience like that to our kids. And, so when they come back, that one, they're proud to have played for Meadowbrook football. I think that's important. And, two, that they have, a relationship with me that's more than just what do I do on this play? It's more about, the man that they become, and hopefully they become heads of their families and things like that. So a lot of great experiences. From the time I was little, and again, just the love affair with football and all things it brings, the ups, the downs, the hard work that it takes to be successful, and the hard work that it takes, and sometimes you're not successful. So just the game itself and everything around it is it's addicting, really.
Yeah. So we've had, a handful of coaches over the time that you've been with Meadowbrook, over the 25 years you've been an assistant through all of it. But were there ever times where you got offers to be a head coach, at maybe other schools that are in our area or beyond that? Kind of talk about that, I guess, because what kept, if there were offers that you had, what kept you here and declining those other offers to be a head coach somewhere else?
Well, to be quite honest, so I've never pursued anything outside of Meadowbrook. So when as I was coaching football, now the only, I do have and people who know me, I do have a passion for the game of baseball as well. Just again, some of the lessons that baseball, it's a fairly negative game most of the time, right? Most of the things that happen are bad, all that, 300 hitters getting out 7 times out of 10, but you still got to keep going. So there for a while, I was the head varsity baseball coach here. But outside of that, I've never explored going anywhere else. Now I do thoroughly enjoy going and looking at other teams and talking to other coaches and see, how they do things and maybe the structure in which they put in place. This off season, I spent a little bit of time with Coach Culver and Coach Bindle up at Sheridan. They were gracious enough to take myself and Coach Dalton and spend some time with us, and a few other coaches. I really enjoy that part. But as far as wearing a different color, I like orange. Orange suits me, I think. Orange and brown and white. We sprinkle in some black and gray. But I've never really thought about leaving Meadowbrook.
No, I love that, but I was just curious, if you had ever, if someone had ever approached you and was like, hey, you've been an assistant here at Meadowbrook for so long, how about we give you a shot to kind of be the lead man somewhere else,
Yeah, I think most of the people who know me fairly well enough know that, these colors don't run at all.
Sure.
They're solid. So, but I do have some great relationships with guys at other schools, which I'm truly appreciative of. So,
yeah. So year 3 as head coach, and the first 2 years, I guess, have kind of they've been two extremes. So your first year 8-2, couple playoff wins, and then last year 1-9. But you did lose 14 seniors. It was a very young team, and a lot of the kids that played last year hadn't seen the Friday Night Lights before. So it was a very young team, inexperienced team, and so that led to the 1-9 season. But with who are some of the returning faces that Colt fans are going to see this year? What does your offense look like, your defense look like with some of the guys that you have coming back? And they have a year under their belt now, and I guess the expectations, for year 3 for Colt football.
Yeah. So, to go on something that you said, we had several guys playing last year that didn't see Saturday afternoon daylight before, Friday, before the Friday night lights kicked on. So, yeah, we were younger, and not necessarily like the whole team's young. We had a few, several seniors last year, but just that, some of the, quarterback, backfield, some of the receiving area, like just all totally inexperienced. And I think that was, like the first half of last season was super evident. Like, we were struggling all phases really. And then the second half of the season, the offense started to click, a little bit. Some of the young guys, they got, a little more comfortable with the Friday night lights. So we're hoping to, just keep building off of that. So, we do return most of our skill guys. And quite honestly, most of them, they're still sophomores and juniors. So we have a handful of seniors who we're going to lean on this year. Dalen Rivera comes back to us. He was kind of a little dinged up last season as far as his legs and whatnot, but he's good. You saw him in track. He can pick him up and put him down pretty good. So he'll be in the backfield. Got Justice Huey, who played quarterback for us last year. He is, right now we have a pretty good quarterback battle going on. We got 2 guys who are really competing, which is honestly, as any coach will tell you, when you have competition at a position, they each kind of raise the level of each other's game, which is what we're counting on. Braylon Lowry is doing everything he can to win that position as well. So those 2 are in a pretty good battle. And then we feel like we have 6 or 7 kids on the edge. My son Nick, who ended up having a pretty decent year, statistically, I guess. But he comes back, and again, he's a junior. Jacob Burris, who had to play as a freshman last year. We got a couple of young kids now, but like Landon Kuhn, who's going to play, and Carter Watson, who's going to get some time, and Braden Black and Cooper McManaway. Those guys are looking to get the ball. But we have we've had a couple of good younger groups, and one of those groups who's going to be freshmen. Bentley Cedor, who's a freshman, is he's a pretty skilled young man. As he figures out the pace and the physicality of the game. He's going to be somebody to certainly keep an eye on. But we feel like we have a lot of guys coming back that have playing experience. Now, granted, that experience was on 1 and 9, wasn't great, but we're hoping that they're going to be a little more comfortable as far as when the moment hits them, that they'll be able to focus on their assignment instead of everything. They kind of get the big wide eyes and they're looking at everything but what the assignment was. But so we're hoping that that's going to help. We think we're going to be, fairly strong up front. We got, Mitchell George, who is, he's going to be a junior now, who, he's starting to get some looks from some colleges. And I think that's exciting for him because it lets him know, hey, this is, people, they see this in me. So now I'm going to work and try to exceed that. And then what that does for the teammates, and what we found early on, is we have guys lining up like defensive line that, like, they want to try their skill set against, this big time guy. So it's that whole iron sharpens iron analogy has been happening so far this summer. But guys, Talon Cannon, Ethan Hetty, Zayden Yeagle, Noah Farley, all these guys played last year. So we're hoping that with the year under their belt, and again, and not, obviously we still want to get stronger, and they still got to be able to dissect and understand what other teams are doing. But the preparation going into the game, we think, will be, it should be a lot better. But yeah, 2 extremes. The first year, 10-win season, and we did have a really, really good senior group. And then last year we obviously went 1 and 9. But I'll also say that the teams that are, like the teams in the NBL, as and the guys you're covering, they're pretty good. These guys know what they're doing. Their schemes are unique and different. Every week is a different challenge. And, so, we didn't go 1-9 just because we were bad. But we were seeing some good competition on a regular basis. And we expect the same thing this year. Our schedule doesn't really, we changed week 2. We no longer have Barnesville, but, we end up picking Indian Valley, who's a regional playoff every year. So, but our schedule it's tough. The coaches in the league do a great job, and they develop talent, and they certainly make it difficult on you every Friday night. So, we struggled last year, but again, it was not just because we weren't doing this or we weren't doing that. The teams are pretty good. So.
I got to ask you about having your son Devon on your coaching staff, because and it's not uncommon that you see father-son duo coaching partners like in high school football, but like for Devon, who is he's such a young kid he only graduated 4 years ago. So I guess what's that like with coaching with him on Friday nights? And then I guess you also have your other son Nick on the team, who's a junior this year. So it's kind of all in the family. So what's that experience been like for you, having your son on your coaching staff, and then you're also coaching your other son at the same time?
It's it is unique, and I'm thankful that I get that experience. But the banter is kind of funny because Devin, of course, will tell Nick that I'm obviously easier on Nick than I was on Devin. Devin never got any breaks, never cut any slack, but I like to think that I treat them both the same. But it is unique, and it's last year we had a spot available, and Devin had done a little coaching, some varsity baseball down there with Shenandoah and Coach Engel, and then with Coach Heller. So, and then he had been around obviously our program and knew it in and out. But that was actually. The coaching part was a fairly easy transition. All the terminology, all the the way we structure practice, the way we run drills, the things that we're asking those positions to do. He had done it, that we had basically installed years ago when Coach Twitty was here. So that part was fairly simple. Now I as far as coaching Nick, listen, I'm be honest. I'm sure most coaches who have their kids on the team are the same. We expect more. They probably get held under the microscope a little bit more than everybody else. And they understand that comes with territory. I've coached them in a lot of sports from the time they were little. And, essentially I hold them accountable, and I hold them to a higher standard than maybe just and that's not to say that I don't hold the other guys to a higher standard, but hey, he's going to get it when he gets home. Which, I really, as a parent, and for all you fellow coaches who are going to have your son at some point, if I could give you any advice, and I learned this earlier with Devin, and I've really tried to, and I think it helps because I have, from my opinion, I have a pretty good relationship with my kids, is, once you leave the practice field and, at home, you're back to dad. It's, you got to let the football or the, hey, what was you doing on this? That kind of stuff. We try to keep that at the football facility. And then, when we go home, we just, we try to be normal, just a normal family. Granted, every once in a while football might come up or something might come up, but we really make a concerted effort to, put the dad hat on and, not so much the coach hat. So, but it's fun. It's, sometimes it's challenging. It's easy. I can get on Devin now a little bit, like as we're watching film, or, hey, what's your, looking at your position, like, what are they doing here? What you got to fix that. So, but yeah, it's unique. And again, I'm super, super thankful and appreciative that I get that opportunity. So.
Yeah, you got to stay on them. You have to.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, there's no slacking. There's
no, not at all. So I want to ask you about your schedule this year. I guess it's kind of over the last couple of years, because when I was growing up, Cambridge, the team up north, was always the last game of the year. It was always the way to end the season, regardless of how each team was doing. Absolutely. Just such a dramatic way to end the year is that rivalry. And now over the last couple of years, that game has kind of been inserted. It's been moved to kind of the beginning/middle of the season, like week 4 or 5.
Right.
So is there a different energy around the rivalry, like it being at the beginning of the season versus the end of the season? Because at the end of the year, there could be playoff implications on the line, and there's all that emotion. It's an emotional way to end the year versus having such an emotional game at the beginning of your season.
Yeah, it was certainly an adjustment, but rest assured, the energy level for that game is still, I mean, it's still high, and it's it's something that, as as two local schools, and again, we all say like we hate them but the rivalry it's exciting because both communities and fan bases care so much about it. And whether you play it week 1, week 10, I mean, week 10 is what we got used to for so many years. It was always the last game, but so now it's week 3, which is a different because it's still early in the season. And if so 2 years ago we won a super exciting game, at our place, and then last year, but it wasn't the end. Like you could still kind of recover and rebound, and then there was always the potential. Hey, well, maybe there could be a post. Maybe you'll see them in the playoffs. Well, now we dropped. We're Division 5 now this year, so I think they're still in 4. But yeah, as far as the timing of the rivalry, I mean, it's still. Week 3 is different. It's not cold. Like it's still nice. The weather's good. You don't have to worry about playing in the cold, driving rain, that part. But so now, as you alluded to our schedule. So outside of Indian Valley, Barnesville, our schedule for the most part is the same. But what we found, like, so our week 10 now, like with West Muskingum, the last few years, their program last year, they were really good. They had physical, tough football team, and I'm fully anticipating they're going to have the same thing this year. So now we're kind of building a new rivalry. So even though it's young, it's still week 10. It's always exciting, regardless.
Oh yeah.
Now that I do like the fact that it's if it's going to be West End week 10, let's keep it there, and then let's start building that that rivalry up. So.
Sure.
The schedule itself it's tough. Like I said, it's unique and challenging, and we kind of had an opportunity with week 2. So when we added Indian Valley, so maybe in a couple of years, maybe we'll see somebody different there. And that, because really outside of that, and when the big school game, when the teams you play, when that transfers, other than that, our schedule pretty much is what it is. So.
Yeah. Well, Steve, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us on Shot Callers today. This is a special show for me because, I mean, you were my teacher in 8th grade, so it's pretty cool. It's kind of a cool, like, full circle type moment sort of thing. But I appreciate you, chopping it up about some football, some Colt football for about 15, 20 minutes. This is great, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, and 2, it's good to see the kids that you had. I'd like to say not too long ago because I don't feel like I want to age myself, but no, it's great to see you doing something you enjoy. I've watched some of your previous episodes. You're doing a great job, and hopefully we'll be able to keep some contact throughout the season. So.
No, I appreciate that, and it wasn't that long ago. It feels like yesterday to me, man. I mean, it doesn't feel like I've been. It doesn't feel like I've been graduated for 5 years now. Like I just had my 5-year high school reunion a couple months ago, and I was like, this isn't real life. Like this doesn't feel real to me, So
30, we got 30 years coming up next year. I'm like, oh,
that's crazy.
That seems like a long time, but no, it's good to see, and like I say, keep doing the good work. I enjoy watching them, so.
Appreciate it, and best of luck this year, and we will definitely be checking in with you, as the season goes on, and yeah, best of luck.
All right, thanks again.